Right, you said you wanted feedback, so I'm recording review. So this will be a bit long-winded, but I'll try to remain on the basics. Okay, so first off, this is generally what you want going into RST. 3 missions, you get to see, what's going on. Now this, when you see 3 objectives, you know that unless it's terrain, you want to avoid it. Because it will have an extra alpha vec, and Frozen Titans actually deals really well with it with these missions. But on top of the alpha vec, you still have 2 more regular vecs, which could easily snowball into trouble. And just in general, it's just a slow mission. You never want it. You'd rather take something like Terraformer over it. Um, so and on the other hand, when you see 2 energy, you know it's always a regular solar farms mission. 2 energy is 2 power grid rewards. That's always solar farms, which is always a regular mission with no added time serve or time loss. So this is always a safe pick. 2 stars, it can be train or it can be very bad things. So you generally need to check 2 stars. Which you do, which, this part is good, but then you take a lot to actually read, and then you decide you don't want it and go into a bad mission anyway. In this situation, you see that what I would have done is seeing that Terraformer is bad, seeing that this is not trained, so it's bad, and then just going for the one up top here. And if the next mission is lightning storm or whatever, then you're just walled in and you reset, and that's okay because you're 2 missions in, and so those resets aren't really expensive. Sometimes the mission layout will just make you reset, and that's how it is. But I mean, realistically, this is fine. If your PB is 2 minutes behind the world record, so like that is you can afford to do a mission that is 10 seconds lower if you want. So you could have gone Terraformer or whatever if you didn't want to reset, but in that situation you absolutely should try to just what's the word? You should try to avoid doing this. Okay, so first turn, I think that was the best thing you had available. There was no way to kill this Vec, but now you see the issue with going for this Alpha Vec. Because if this wasn't here, you'd just freeze this, kill the Scarab, or the yeah, that's a Scarab. Kill the Scarab and then just move on with your life. But now since this is alive, you're starting to stack multiple tough enemies on the same board at once. And Frozen Titans is one of the better classes because with the freeze mech you can kill anything with high HP. Like it's 3 damage effectively on this. Like it's really good. But you're still, it will take some time to watch all of these animations and do everything. Now you even get lucky that oh, okay, that's a mistake. You want to get this pushed into the water because okay, so here's what I do going into every single turn of Into the Breach. Okay, let's go back a couple seconds. I count my damage and I count the HP of my enemies. So here you have 3 with this Scorpion, 1 with the Scorpion that already took damage last turn, and then 3 more here. So you need to do 7. And your Freeze Mech can do 3 to this Scorpion. So you need to do 4 with the Aegis Mech and the Janus Mech. Now, how can you do 4 with these two? Either the Janus Mech needs to hit both, or you need to get some push magic. Because, if you just have 2 regular hits, the Aegis Mech does 2 and the Janus Mech does 1, and that's 3 damage. and these have 4 total HP, and so that's not going to cut it. So in this situation, I immediately know, just from quick math, that I will need to look for some kind of push play, either to push something into a wall. Well, in this situation, there really isn't a wall. I'm either looking for a push play, or I'm looking for both of these to be lined up together so that I can shoot both with the Janus mech. And so when this Vec goes here, I know immediately that, I need a push play, so clearly the only push play available is to shoot it into the water. And so that's something that can really, if you adapt your thought process to be that way, counting damage every time, etc., you will be a lot better at cleaning up Vec every single turn. Because in most turns it tends to be very simple in this game, because you just have 2 Vec on the board. But especially when you do these harder missions, and especially when you get to Vec Hive, it is important that you know how to do this, because when you have more Vec on board, you cannot afford to be inefficient. You really want to be clearing as many as possible, as fast as possible. And so when you do this, this is not a big deal at all. This guy survives, but okay, let's count the animations that from this guy being alive. That's, I would say, maybe half a second, and that's another half second, maybe 0.75 each for both of those animations. And so you have a second and a half, and then you need to spend more time actually dealing with this spec. So that will probably be another second or so. And so every time something survives, that is 2.5 upwards to 3. Realistically, you can be conservative with estimates if you just look at if you just count the frames. But realistically, those Vex staying alive, just from experience, they waste a lot of time. You don't need to get specific with the exact amount. If you leave a Vec alive, you're going to lose time. And if you do it often, and if you're not careful, then it really stacks up really fast. Okay, so here you get lucky. Yep, don't need to comment on that. That was good spawn, so you get it. You get it. Right. So 110, quitting mission 1 at 110. For your reference, normally when I quit a regular mission, I want it to be around 50 to 55 seconds. So that's already, let's say, 15 seconds you lost due to the mission being bad and Vex staying alive on the board over multiple turns. That's 15 seconds. And well, I guess you also took some time selecting the mission and whatever. But when you're what can I do to save time? You just need to be faster at the small things and not leave Vec alive, and not, because you're not doing any big mistakes, but you're bleeding a lot of time here still. You've not lost grid or anything that will compromise your run, but you've lost 15 seconds, which is, at some level it starts to become compromising itself. So you get Cataclysm here. That's obviously an instant select. I didn't get to read, wasn't paying super attention. I didn't get to read what the other mission was. So it's no big deal. Okay, so here again, you take a long time to decide on what you want to do. Let's watch this again. Now, again, with the counting damage trick, you will see that you have 2+2 deal, and Janus Mech will only deal 1. So unless you have some trick with the Janus Mech, what you will have to do is you will need to kill 1 with the Aegis Mech and 1 with the Freeze Mech. Now the game does give you a trick with the Janus mech, because you can do what you did, place it here and push. But when you look at what happens there, you still have to move your ice mech and freeze anyway. So this isn't really convenient, because look at what happens now. You need to move. I mean, I guess it's fine, it's equivalent, but you need to be, very fast to calculate that it's equivalent and actually go ahead with this. Because otherwise, look at what happens. Okay, first of all, while you're here, visualize this play instead. Aegis mech goes here on C3, kills the Psion. Freed's mech goes on E3 and freezes the Scarab. Look at how clean that is. And you don't need to even move the Genos mech, which is, by the way, it's time save. Like, not having to move mechs, it saves more than you would think. So, that's one option. And you could be equivalent to that if you did something like Genos mech to E3 and then shoot, and then freeze mech to either F3 or like H5 and freeze the Scarab. That would be fine as well. But since the Genos mech play is more complicated, look what ends up happening. You spend, that is 2 seconds, like genuinely, maybe it was like 1.5, but genuinely the timer went from 134 to 136, and you were just fiddling around with your Aegis mech. And so, again, it's not a run ender at all, but that is time bled to a situation that is relatively simple. Because, there was an easy solution available. Just kill one, kill the other. Done. Either way, it's not the end of the world, but if you want to clean up, further, that's important. So, this is all good. Okay, one thing that I should point out, I see you clicking on max a lot. That is something that will lose your time just mechanically over time. I really cannot stress this enough, but selecting your max with QWE is so much faster over a full run, because maybe you don't notice, but every time you click on a mech and move it manually, your mouse has to move a lot more, and it's just a lot slower too than just clicking and undoing. And so that's an habit that you might want to change. I remember when I had to learn to control the mechs, and it was miserable for a few days, or for a few hours. Let's not say days, because it didn't take days. But you can ask Isherwood about this too, because he also had the same experience. At the start, you're just completely jumbling your mechs. It's normal, but it doesn't take more than a couple hours to get used to it, and it really speeds you up. So if you want to get better, that's definitely something you can do. Just consistently QWE for every mech, every time. So here, okay, there was another 3-star mission, so you checked it and it was trained and you selected it, so that's fine. That's what you have to do. Again, ideally you would like your terrain to not be a 3-star or 3 objective, but it is what it is. Sometimes it happens, sometimes you have to do it. Alright, now this is a hard thing to, do, but when you see scorpions that are already on the board, like here, if you're really advanced, if you're really fast, you can think about what is in the scorpion's range, because let's look again. Here, Scorpion can move up to 3 squares. So here, when you place the ice mech on F5, you guarantee that the Scorpion will attack it, because there is nothing else, no other enemies available, no objectives to attack, other than the ice mech in the range of the Scorpion mech, of this Scorpion Vec. So, I mean, it's not a thing that you urgently need to learn how to do because it's quite advanced, but that is something that you can look to improve maybe. Because this is now a fairly sticky situation because you need to use the Janus mech to um oh, okay, that makes it easier. You can just use the Janus mech for that. One thing you could have done here, Aegis mech first to E3 to kill the Psion, so that the train only loses 1 HP instead of both, so you get to keep 1 reputation. It's not a big deal, but you also get to skip the explosion animation, which is a second or so. Oh, what? What was this? Why did you not freeze this? Why was this back not frozen? Yeah, I don't have anything to comment because I don't understand this play. If I understood the rationale, maybe I'd give tips, but it just makes no sense. Okay. So now you freeze it. And now you leave this Vec alive, and again, you're bleeding like 2.5, 3 seconds every time with those plays. So you finish your third mission at 2:55. For reference, on my runs, especially on Frozen Titans and the faster classes like this, I usually want to be at 30 seconds faster or so at this mark. So that's 15 seconds in the first missions and then imprecisions in both of these. So there you go. Okay, Hornet Hive. Now, Hornet Hive is a peculiar mission because the way you play it depends heavily on the class you're playing. Because there are some classes that can deal with it super well, and some classes that have a lot more trouble dealing to damage to things. And Frozen Titans is one of the classes that has more trouble, but in this map especially more than the others, because in the others, there are Hornet Hives with just 3 ults, and you can often just, set yourself up in a way that lets you abuse push damage and whatnot. But here you don't have any of that. You just have to do a lot of stretching to reach over there and deal 2 damage. So this is going to be a rough one, I can already tell, because you have 6 to do here. And you don't, like, these 2 Vex already take up all of your attention. Like, all 3 of your mechs would need to be here. And yeah, they do end up doing that. Oh, that's an oof. That's not at all what you should have done. So, okay, these 2 Vec, they are more urgent because they are already attacking you. So basically, once again, you need to count your damage. You for sure will need to leave something unkilled. You will need to leave something alive on this turn, because this is way more than you can handle on 1 turn. And there are some classes that can easily clear 4 Vec in 1 turn if they line up, like, laser max and whatever, but this is not one of them. So you need to leave something alive. Now, so that's one thing. The next thing is you probably want to make a use of your Janus mech, which is not trivial. So this is actually okay. I'll give you the first play I saw, and it was probably the play I would have done in this situation. But then I'll give you an extra, bonus play if you really want to get good. Okay, so the play that I saw is just this Firefly is the only one that's attacking, so you want to freeze it immediately. So since the Scorpion isn't attacking, it's fairly easy to see that, this is my ideal freeze target. So to freeze it, you probably want to be on C5, so you want to move your Aegis mech, and while you're at it, your Aegis mech can move either to F6 and kill this Hornet, or it can move, it can move to D2 after a Janus mech attack. So the first play I saw was just Aegis F6, kill the Hornet. But it's also fine if you just do cannon attack first, and then Aegis D2 and kill the Scorpion. And then Ice Mech to C5, freeze the Firefly. Those are both very fine plays. Something you can also do if you're really good. I didn't see this like in time at all. I just thought of it while I was talking. So, you know, I'm basically just saying this for the sport of it. You can go Ice Mech to G5, freeze and kill the Hornet on G3. Aegis Mech to C3, flip the Firefly, and then the Janus Mech attacks vertically along the 5 row and kills the Hornet with push damage. That would have been, you know, actually not that good because you still only kill 2 things. But it would have been very fun to see because you actually get to use your Janus Mech for something useful. Which is difficult to do in this position. Now, what you do here is just you have 3 Vex alive. You easily could have gotten a situation where you only had 2 Vex alive. And that's a big deal, because again, any alive Vec, that's extra animations, that's extra time loss, and it stacks up. Another thing that's bad is that you launched your Ice Mech straight into a Scorpion. That's never good. That's the one thing you want to look for. Like, you know, Frozen Titans, they handle most things incredibly well, but Scorpions in the face of an Ice Mech, they're really difficult because they require the attention of basically both of your other mechs need to be... Because one of your other mechs can free your Ice Mech, but it won't kill the Scorpion. So you basically always want to double up on the Scorpion with the other 2. And that's always super annoying. So if you can get a situation where you avoid this Scorpions in the face of the Ice Mech, that's good. Here you don't get punished for it, so it's fine. Now here, well, the play is really simple. Yep. There's nothing much to say there. The Vec behaved. Here again, the play is really simple. Yep. Okay. This was a difficult layout. Again, Frozen Titans on Hornet Hive is not super intuitive, but you do want to do better than that, ideally. Okay, the upgrade is good. Now, Psion, this is just the most, one of the most annoying bosses for Frozen Titans, because you usually just want to freeze and move on, but you clearly can't do that here. So, against Psion, on the first turn, you just want to freeze whatever else is on the map, so the Scarab is getting frozen. And then, with the damage upgrade, you can do 2 with push damage with the Janus Mech, and 2 more with the Aegis Mech to clear it on turn 1, which is ideal. But you can also leave it alive, because this is not attacking anything, so you can kill it the next turn if the push damage doesn't line up immediately. But it usually does line up, because you can use your own Aegis Mech for push damage. Okay, so here the play is very simple. Janus Mech to D3, hit Aegis Mech. Maybe you can advance it to E4 just to get it closer to the spawns, but small thing. And then it kills the Psion, and that's it. And the Freeze Mech obviously just goes to F2, or even E2. Okay, the ordering doesn't... Okay, so you lose a grid for no reason. It's not a big deal, because again, Frozen Titans, they are great. They usually don't lose. But you do lose a grid for no reason. You know, you can just get this push damage onto your own mech, which is a lot better. So that's a thing to improve on. Losing grid is not a great deal on these strong classes, but on the weaker classes it's really important, and in general it's a good habit to not lose grid whenever you can. So, okay, cool. That's what you needed to do. Okay, this again. Think of your damage. You need to do 3. How can you do 3? One option, freeze it and move your Janus Mech to block. Another option, use the Aegis for push damage, because right here you cannot do the thing where you just use your own ice mech for push here, because if you fire immediately with your Janus cannon, then you cannot block on F2 without losing Mafan, because you lose your shield with the push. But what you can do is just move Mafan away to block immediately, and then move the Aegis mech in its place. So here, yeah, see, okay, it's really easy to say, I just kill it, but then you need to think of the block as well. So here, the play that I immediately saw is just Mafan to F2, Aegis mech to E2, and you get it done very easily. That's one thing that is a little advanced, but you really need to learn it when you're playing classes like Flame Behemoth or whatnot, where push damage is all you have. Sometimes you need to use your own mech to sort of cause push damage to something else, and so managing that is important. And if you're just used to Frozen Titans, maybe you've not really learned how to do that, but yeah, it's something you need to keep in mind. That's all. And now you miss out on a block. Oh, okay, now that's a cute play. It doesn't. Okay, that works. It is slower, to be clear. It's slower because you need to do an artillery attack, which is again another 1.5 seconds of animation. But I did forget that you could do that, which is funny because I actually usually remember to do that during runs. Not sure why I forgot during your review. Well, whatever. I'm probably less focused than I am during an actual run, so that's why I forget those things maybe. But anyway, okay, so you buy the button. I mean, it's fun. I don't think it's particularly good, but it's fun, and I do wish it is something I did more often, because on the weaker classes the button can be good sometimes, but I never remember to buy it, so. I mean, it's not good, but okay. So you put one movement on the Janus cannon. This play is fine, but I usually would keep the core for 3 damage on the Aegis mech, because you just want it just makes it a lot easier to deal with scorpions and fireflies, and in the second Melon you can even get centipedes and whatever. So anytime you need 3 damage, you have 2+1 from the Janus mech, which is. It does the job, and you have freeze, which also does the job. But if you have more flexibility, I really value that. And I don't think you urgently need the movement until Black Hive, which is far down the line. So it's fine to put movement here. I just prefer not to. I prefer to save it for Black Hive. So here, you have damage to kill both. So yep. Don't use any freeze when you can afford to kill them manually. That's very good. Yeah, it's good that you're not using freeze when you can use something else, because those are slower animations. So that much is on point. Okay, this was a good mission. You lost time again due to dragging the max with by hand instead of QWE, but that's. I've already mentioned that. Now I take an issue with the fact that you selected a mission without checking what the other mission was, because unfortunately on this island especially you need to be very aware of mines, because they will just show up on missions that otherwise look normal. So. And mines are slower, because you can see here they have 3 Vex on turn 1. And so if they immediately step on mines, then it's even, but they don't always do that. So it's never good, and it's never faster than a normal mission, and it's sometimes even 10-15 seconds lower, because you have more Vex and you can't clear them all. So bad mission, avoid mines. Especially, like, you know, maybe this other one was air support or something, and then this mission would have been the best anyway. But since you don't know what the other mission is, you should at the very least like check it before clicking into anything. Again, 2 minutes behind world record is not a great deal, but it will improve your time slightly if you, or your consistency rather, if you check things a bit more thoroughly before jumping in. Now, okay. Okay, that works. What I was thinking, oh, you blocked. Okay, no, that's bad then. Okay, so here's what I was thinking. Since you have 4 movement on the Janus mech, you can do this. If I can kill 2... Okay, so when I see 2 Vec on screen, I want to kill them using 2 Vecs, if possible, if at all possible. Because every attack has an animation timing, and those stack up. So if I can get 2 kills with just two Vecs here, I'm happy. So I immediately start looking for ways to kill with 2. And I can afford the time to do that, because at this stage, you know, killing 2 Vec using 3 max is really trivial. You have a load of ways to just double up. But you only have one way to kill without using your Aegis mech here. And that way is Janus mech to G2, push the Firefly onto the mine, and then freeze the other one. And that would save you some animation time on the Aegis mech. And it would also put your Janus mech much closer to the back of the board, which is generally a good idea to have your mech closer to the back of the board. Or closer to the... I don't know. I guess this is the front. I don't know if it's the back or the front. I don't know which way you want to call it, but you know, 1, 2, 3 essentially. That side of the board is a lot better because you're closer to blocking spawns. So when you go back here and double up on this Firefly, actually you don't even double up, you leave it alive, which is, you know, just dreadful. Because now you have to watch it attack as well. And you block. Now this is bad because I know it looks nice, haha, I'm blocking, but on 4 turns to go, what happens here is that you just add another spawn to your next turn. And so next turn you will have 3 Vex spawning, which is a lot of Vex spawning. And if you block some here, like if you block 2 or even 3 here, that just means next turn you will have even more. So the Vex on 4 turns to go, you're never going to block them all the way. Never, ever. And since you're not blocking them all the way, it is literally faster to let them spawn. Like, no matter what. It's always faster to let Vex on turn 4 spawn. Under no condition is it ever good to block it. So I really dislike that play of leaving the Firefly alive, because you know, you're not going to be able to block everything. Much less on a mine mission, because mine missions have more enemies to block than normal ones even. So here you see, yeah, you still have 2 Vec that end up spawning. These repairs are completely unnecessary. You didn't need to. You just didn't need to. I'm not sure why you... it's not the worst habit to repair things, but like... Oh, what have you done? What was this? I mean, I think you just panicked. I don't know. That was clearly, like, you know, not the play. You just needed to step out of the path of the beetle and would have... So you said that, oh, yeah, tidal waves down there. Yeah, that's a real stinker then. That you selected the mine mission without checking first. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, so a lesson in tidal waves. This is a specific block pattern that you need to remember for tidal waves specifically. Tidal waves have 2 spawns here and 2 spawns the next turn. So if you block both on first turn, you actually cannot block all of them on the second turn, because it will have 4 and you will only have 3 max. So it is acceptable to block both spawns on turn 1 if and only if one of the spawns will get washed away by the tidal wave next turn. So if this spawn was on E1 instead of D1, for example, that would be fine, because next turn you can leave E1, because whatever spawns under, it doesn't get to spawn anyway because of the tidal wave. But since both spawns are more than a space away from the tidal wave, you cannot actually do this. Well, you can, but then you're not blocking anyway. And so, you see here, you can't block all of them, and so you're just wasting time for much the same reason blocking on 4 was bad. It's just the same rationale but different, turn counts, because tidal waves is special. Here, yeah, you have to move one thing. This is like such a clear demonstration of why clicking with QWE is faster. Like, you lost so much time clicking here and then here and then here and then here. Like, it's so much faster to just do QWE. Saves you so much of mouse movement. Alright, damn, satellite launches. Oh, yeah, that train down there and you never checked it? That is bad. I never noticed that you didn't check it. But yeah, you always want to check all your missions at the start and, remember them. Okay, so here, I was going to say here the play is very simple, but apparently it wasn't. On a train mission, every time you have 3 things you want to do. 2 VEC and a train to break, and you have 3 max. So, clearly, Aegis goes to D2 to kill this. Janus Cannon breaks the train, and Fritzmech takes care of the beetle. That was my obvious play, but apparently it's not so obvious. What are you doing? What is this? What have you done? Why are you not freezing? Wow, okay, I'm not sure. Okay, now this one... No, this one is actually still not easy. You're still, in a spot of bother, because you... I mean, this looks good for a Janus mech, but your Janus mech cannot actually reach there because of the... Oh wait, no, it can, because it can walk through this other way, through the terrain. So the play is to move the Aegis mech to E2, then move the Janus mech in between these 2 VEC, and then Janus Cannon attack first. That way the Psion dies, and then you can kill the Scarab. So that's a thing that you can do. By the way, before I continue with that, on turn 1, when you block without killing things, that is terrible, because the next turn you're not going to be able to hold that block anyway. Always kill VEC first, and then if you've killed all the VEC, then you can start thinking about blocking. But if there are VEC still on the board, blocking is pointless, because you won't be able to hold everything anyway, as a general rule. And there are situations where you can, bypass that rule, but it's not at all frequent. Another simpler way to handle this situation would be to just freeze the Scarab, and then Janus mech the Psion, and Aegis mech the beetle, by the way. But let's see what you do here. Yeah, that's bad. Again, you could just freeze the Scarab. Why do you not use the freeze mechs? Like, there's more than a few times already where you could have just completely didn't use the freeze mech for no reason. I guess the animation is low, but you know what else is low? This animation. Like, if you can freeze something, maybe it's not optimal, but you still should do it. Okay, here. Yep, that's the play. But see, this loses a lot. Like, leaving the train alive when you had a free kill on turn 1, you lost like so much time there. Train missions should not be that slow on Island 2. Like, on Island 2 you're stacked, you should be able to handle train missions like so fast. This is a bit of a nasty pattern, because you cannot actually reach the sign. But that's good. Your Aegis mech got movement. Did you put a current movement? I think you must have put a current movement for Aegis mech. You're just going to leave that alive. I mean, that's fine. I probably would have killed it, because it saves a little... it doesn't save anything, alright, but, there is some time still lost to watching this guy try to move. So since you had all the time in the world, maybe that I would have done it. But either way, very good boss mission. There's little to say here. Ah, okay. Now that's a questionable play because you had that extra pilot. So, okay, you have max grid with 26 grid defense. So buying extra grid is very low value. So you had two things that you could have done here. Either buy one core and leave immediately, because you don't care about being an optimal with the reputation, because you just want to be fast. You don't care if you lose more rep, right? So especially when you're at max grid, like this is not worth your time. 26% grid defense too is, you know, an atrocious amount. It's so much. You really don't need to sell for grid. What you could have done is notice, oh, I have a 3 rep available. If I sell things, I can buy another core, and I can upgrade the damage on my Aegis mech. That would have been good. But so either sell nothing or sell 3. Selling 2 things and investing in grid when you're already so high up, that is like 3% grid defense. What have you gotten with that? Like, it's nothing. Yeah, you take away one move from the Aegis mech, that's all fine and well, but actually, in Vec 2, the 5 movement can come in really handy. Because in Hive 2, you want to block on the immediate first turn. You want to block, like, right off the bat. And you need to reach across the entire board to do that, because you start on the high numbers side of the board, and you want to block on the low numbers side of the board. And so often that involves moving 5 tiles, and it's not always necessary, but it's just a thing that improves consistency if you can do it. Okay, so let's look at this turn. That hive is always complicated, so taking multiple turns to, you know, slowing down to really analyze it is always good. You can ignore this bomb because it won't actually kill anything. You just need to move your max away. So immediately off the bat, you can ignore this, and then you have just 3 targets left and 3 max left. So immediately I know that this situation is okay. Then you need to figure out how is it okay exactly. How are you going to use your 3 max to clean up these? Well, for HP, that's easily has to be the Ice Max job. So Ice Max should know to G2 is fine and E7 is also fine. I would probably do E7 here just because I don't want to rush my Ice Mech into potential Scorpions so quickly, but it would be fine in either way because you have other mechs to rush in and actually deal 3 damage immediately if you really need to. But I probably would do E7 because you on Vec 1 you don't want to block with 3 to go either because you have 2 spawns and holding everything is very difficult. So you're not in a rush to get them immediately to the front of the board. So I probably would have done or E7. Sorry, I'm not sure if I said F7 in the past, but you know I probably would have done this square. So that's one, and then you need to think about the second. Well, the Aegis mech cannot attack the Scorpion without dying to the bomb. So the Aegis mech will need to go around and kill the Scarab. And then the Genos mech will have to kill the Scorpion. So how can the Genos mech kill the Scorpion? Well, you will need to deal 2 damage to your own grid, but thankfully you have 29% grid defense and have full grid. So this is really fine. When you're in Vec Hive, you're basically done with the game, so you can start to be a lot more liberal with your grid defense. Here, if you need to take 2 damage, you just take 2 damage, and in this case, you just have to do it because you have no other way to kill the Scorpion. So my play: freeze the Blobber, Genos mech to D6, attack, kill the Scorpion, and then Aegis Max steps in and kills the Scarab. That's my play. Let's see what you do. Oh boy. Oh boy. Ah. Okay, so you leave a blobber alive when you didn't need to. So okay, so this is the advantage of doing the counting damage thing that I brought up earlier. If you count what is on the board and what your mechs can do, and you compare them, you immediately know if you can clear everything or not. And then once you know whether you can clear everything or not, seeing the play becomes easy because you can see immediately from counting damage that you have a way to kill everything. And then once you have that problem, you reduce the problem from a general what do I do question to a what do I do to specifically kill everything question. Because if you don't know that you can kill everything, then you start thinking about, oh, what do I leave alive and that kind of stuff. But if you count damage, you know immediately, okay, I can kill everything. It's just a matter of how. And once you are thinking on that space, on that wavelength, it becomes really easy to see, well, the blobber must take up the ice mech, and then the scorpion must take up, the rest of my the genus cannons here specifically. And there was that was actually a very instructive turn because there was precisely one solution. There was no space for error. There was precisely one solution that killed everything cleanly, and it was a very achievable through a very rigid logical process. You just needed to observe that the blobber needed your freeze mech, and then the scorpion needed your Janus mech, and then your Aegis mech covered the scarab that was left. But if you don't make the first observation that you can kill everything based on damage count, then you start you forget that you can kill everything. You start worrying about that stupid blob thing that wasn't actually threatening anything, and it gets really bad. All right, now again. If at all possible, you want to kill all the mechs first. So if you have to take 2 damage here from this blob, so be it. I would freeze the blobber, and then Janus mech here kill the Psion, and then Aegis mech here kill the Scarab. I'm guessing based on your turn 1 that you will freeze this, or maybe just Janus mech it or something, and leave yourself open to more trouble by living back alive. But you always just want to prioritize clearing the board at all times. It saves so much time to just kill everything and not have to watch any stupid animations of enemy Vec doing things every single time. So on 3 turns to go, by the way, you have 2 Vec now and 2 Vec on the next turn, so you can block 1 here if all goes well. You can never block 2, but you can block 1 if you're doing well, which you are potentially doing well here. Like if you freeze the blobber, block and kill this 2, which is if you do the play I outlined earlier, now you are doing well and you can afford a block, so that's fine. But if you do something that leaves okay. Now if you do something that leaves this Scarab alive, it's a little trickier because now you need to block 3 and kill 2 on 1 turn, and that is a lot of things to be doing on a single turn. So if this Scarab wasn't on the board, you would have taken 3 grid damage, 2 from this and 1 from pushing the Psion onto H3. You would have taken 3 grid damage, but now you would have just 1 mech to deal with, and just 1 Vec to deal with while you're blocking is a lot different from 2 separate Vec to deal with. because when you're blocking, you're very restricted in your possibilities, because you know that your mechs need to end up on specific squares, and so you see here, you actually cannot block all three. And if you didn't have this scarab, well, you still couldn't have done it because this hornet chose an absolute bastard spot. But you know, when you have only one Vec to deal with instead of two, the bastard spots are restricted to many less options. So, yeah, this is a bad example for what I was trying to say, but the general concept hopefully still came across. Okay, yeah, this is very simple. But you lost a lot of time here in this Vec Hive one. I believe going from my splits, I usually do that 10 seconds faster, the Hive one. But to be honest, watching it, it maybe feels like you lost even more than 10 seconds. Wait, hold on. I actually want to open a live split and check, because what do I do on Frozen Titans? My Vec Hive 1 split is 1 minute and 20 seconds. Your Vec Hive 1 split is 1 minute and 42 seconds. Okay, so that's over 20 seconds. Okay, that seems to fit what I saw a bit more. Yes. Okay, cool. So Hive 2. Hive 2 is the hardest stage to play. You could have basically every time you play a Hive 2, you could have a fucking 30-minute dissertation on that mission alone. So there is, I don't know, I'll just go ahead, because talking about the principles is a lot easier when you have actually, you know, examples to display them. Okay, but generally speaking, you want to both block and kill things on turn 1. Alright, so this is wonderful because you can ignore 2 enemies, which is an absolute luxury on this mission. So there is one play that jumps out to me immediately. Okay, Hive 2, turn 1. It's probably the hardest turn in an entire run. Because you want to deal with 3 attacking enemies and 2 blocks. So you want to be doing 5 things with 3 Vec, which is really difficult. So when you see Vec that are not posing any danger, you want to jump on that and just leave them alive if they're not, you know, particularly easy to kill. But you still want to kill them, because on this stage, grid is not your priority anymore. Because again, you have a full grid, you're at 29%. It would take 6, like, you can afford 6 damage. You have any idea how much 6 damage is? That's a lot of damage. So, whether they're attacking the grid doesn't really matter anymore. You just want to be very fast at killing all the Vec. Because you just want to minimize their animations, essentially. Like, the less animations you have to watch, the happier you are. So you want to kill Vec not because they're threatening stuff, but because they have animations, and so the less animations, the happier you are. And you also want to block, because, you know, the turn 2, the stuff that eats up the block tiles, that's good for you. I'm sure you know that, but if you don't know that, I'll explain that the next turn. So immediately what jumps out to me is that this tile is blocked off by this Vec, and so you need to use flying together. And so Ice Mech to A5, and incidentally you get a free hit, a free shot on the boss Hornet here. So if you're not doing Ice Mech to A5, this turn is probably rough. Now, after Ice Mech to A5, I see a block on C3 with your Aegis Mech, and I see a kill on B6 with your Janus Mech. You do attack your bomb, but the bomb has 4 HP, so you can take a hit here. And if you do this play with Aegis Mech blocking and Freeze Mech blocking and killing this Hornet on B6, the turn after you will only have 1 Mech alive, which you can very easily control. You will just freeze the Alpha Hornet. And so the bomb is under no real danger of actually dying. You're fine doing 2 damage to it. Again, this is a lot of considerations to make in a split second, but you know, Hive 2 is just the hardest part of the speedrun. That's what you actually do. Okay, so this play is good. This play is good. Oh no! Oh no! I was almost so happy. You just needed to block on A5 instead of going over here. Well, that's still fine. That's still honestly good. Because you now get to, you know, blocking on A5 and eating it up is good, but it's not that bad compared to getting to skip this here. Because the skip does save some animation time. I mean, like it's considerable amounts of time saved here. Alright, I do not agree with this. There is a 4 HP enemy that you want to be taking on, and you cannot reach it with your Janus Mech. So your Freeze Mech needed to be here. Yeah, your Freeze Mech needed to be here, and then you could have moved Aegis to deal with this, and then Janus to block here. You always want to start your thinking process from the things that are most restrictive. This Scarab you can deal with in a million ways. This Hornet you cannot deal with anything other than your Freeze Mech. So you should always start from this. Okay, Freeze Mech. And then once your Freeze Mech is taken up and this is frozen, you start looking at the Scarab. And here's the thing with this sort of thought processing into the bridge. You only get 1 split second to think about what is the most demanding threat. But then you get more time while you watch your Ice Mech move and freeze this. You get more time to think about the Scarab. And so you don't necessarily need to see immediately how you will kill the Scarab. You will just see that it has 2 HP, you can kill it with either of your mechs, and so you will think about it later. And so while you watch this, you get, 2 more seconds to think about how to deal with this Scarab. And since dealing with the Scarab is a very trivial thing, you just move your Aegis Mech into it, it's something I can handle perfectly fine. And so this is a general concept that will, it's everywhere in the run, but it's especially more evident in the harder situations. First, you want to check the highest threat, which is the Alpha Hornet, and then you want to think about the rest, because it just works out so well for you. Okay, and you're doing a double block on 3 again. You always want to think about how many Vec will be spawning. You have 2 here and 2 next turn. So blocking both here is pointless because you won't be able to hold all of the. Oh, sorry, you won't be able to hold all of them all the way. So these 2 blocks are garbage. Like, what are you doing here? Like, yeah, congrats, you still have 2 Vec spawning here. Okay, you even leave this alive. Okay, so here's another tip. This Hornet will attack and then move. And then, no, that's it. Attack and then move. If you let a thing spawn, it will spawn, attack, and then move. And so, it's generally less animations to kill rather than to block. Like, if you have an option where you have to choose between killing an enemy and blocking an enemy from spawning, even on 2 turns to go, it's generally better to just kill. For reasons. Well, I think on more elaborate terms, even more so than just the amount of animations, because on 2 turns to go, it's not actually a big deal on animation time. But it is a big deal that Vec that are on the board for a few turns seems to have a bit more of a tendency for actually heading to the back ranks, or for 5, 6, 7, 8 type of areas. And since you want to keep your mechs forward, catching up with those mechs that go to the back side of your board is not actually trivial. Like, the student that has already been alive for multiple turns has quite a high likelihood to go to F7. And that's just something I know from experience because I've played this game a lot. Things that have been alive for a while will be happier to move a long distance. Okay, it didn't do that here, but you know, it's just something that can happen. Okay, Genos Mike, please. Okay, you're on the absolute last turn. You're finally happy to take 2 crit damage. Hooray! Yeah, you could have done this type of play a lot sooner. Ah well, it works. So yeah, I hope that gave you some context on what you can do to save time. There was a lot there. Yeah, maybe this will get you playing speedier if you have some insight into how I think about things. Yeah, I think that was good. I think I got a lot of important concepts out the way. I think I also repeated myself a lot, but repetition helps with teaching, probably. Yeah, there you go.